I wrote you a letter about everything that matters, still waiting for you to respond. I blame it on post, 'cause they might have lost it halfway. Anyway, sometimes I call, 'cause I know that you're home. I hope you have seen it, you probably haven't, 'cause they may have no cell reception in heaven.
Did you feel a greater sense of like community with other people in the world as well as Russians who don't support the war since it started?
I guess, well, it's a controversial issue because I was telling you about the friends of mine from different countries, which divided into two parts. And some friends of mine just don't want to talk to me because I'm Russian, and some of them are saying that they even hate the fact that they have ever talked to the Russian person. And they have never seen that in me, but they always knew that there is something Russian about me. There's such a crazy thing to say, but I know that it's just a matter of propaganda, and they were definitely brainwashed by the television, which conveys the information about Russians being terrorists and all of that. But I also have the different part of the people who, of course, are supporting me, and they're saying that they understand that it wasn't me and it wasn't my family. It wasn't anybody from the normal Russian people who just did that. It was the governmental decision, which everybody understands, nobody supports. So it's just the difference of the opinion and the difference of the amount of propaganda that people consume, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. What would you say about people who consume propaganda and therefore support the war? Um, what are your feelings towards them as people?
I'm honestly sorry for them, for both Russian people who consume propaganda and for the people from different countries who consume the information about Russians, like the peaceful citizens, being terrorists. I am sorry for them, and I hope that they will figure out the ways to find the truthful information, the facts, but not just that extreme propaganda things.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good perspective to have.
Thank you.
Have you ran into any Ukrainians on your in Kazakhstan or anywhere else in your travels?
Yes, for sure. And thank God they are all adequate and they understand that, um, again, it wasn't me specifically who decided to do all of that. And we communicate. And I have a lot of Ukrainian friends who are now refugees in different countries. It was their decision to become refugees in Germany, for example, or in other European countries, and they're happy with their lives. Of course, they're very concerned about their countries, but they were lucky enough to escape from all that events. So they're now telling me everything about their life in Germany and other countries, and they're pretty lucky and they're happy. Things that goes on. So we're in incredibly good relationships. Everything's perfect, and everybody understands that it's just the governmental things. Of course, it's terrifying everything that happens, but we're good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I also I met a lot more Russians than I met Ukrainians actually. But I met I think just one Ukrainian who has started a good new life in Poland, I think, and a new career.
Yeah,
I think.
happy for them because I know that it's a terrifying thing to say, but they have received the great opportunity to go and start their lives in the different countries. I know that it's
Yeah.
a very terrifying thing to happen to the country and to the people, and of course, a lot of families suffered from all of that. But also, a lot of people who wanted to travel or to move to the different countries, they finally have received this possibility. And they're happy, truly happy about that.
Yeah.
And they're saying that to me, the Ukrainians. So I'm
Yeah.
happy for the people who found a way not to just suffer from it, but to I guess start from the new beginnings and become happy, even though everything is going on. It's crazy.
Yeah. I would never speak for for instance, Ukrainians, as if I know anything, but I know that I met another Ukrainian that I had forgotten about a moment ago. He was 16, and he just came up to me in the street in Bulgaria, and I think he would be so happy that I would say this, because he was trying to say to me that he wants to send a message to people in the world that they can do whatever they want to do, because he was so proud of himself, that he had left Ukraine on his own with
Yeah.
500 euros, and he had never like had a job or something like this. And in that time, he got a job, like before he ran out of money, and he was getting paid very little. He'd already gotten a raise, and he was starting his life in Bulgaria on his own, and it was pretty sick.
That's so nice of him.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's sick. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm happy for him, really. That's great.
yeah,
I mean, so many lives has changed completely. That is crazy. My life was so different and everybody's lives were so different. I mean, I talked to my friends from different countries and we all have never expected these things to happen. And for lots of us, it had actually led to the better consequences. And so we would never find ourselves in the places where we are right now if that hadn't started. For sure, that's a terrible thing to happen to anybody, but I'm happy that we all found our ways to be happy in this, even in the craziest moments and times of our lives. And we're still living and figuring out how to work and how to enjoy the lives and how to travel. And yeah, we're too inventive, I guess. So yes, that's great that we have these opportunities anyway, and so we found ourselves in places where we never expect us to be.
yeah, amazing. So, is the rest of your family there with you in Kazakhstan, or some of them are back in Russia still?
There in Russia, and I always ask my mom to come here because she's from Kazakhstan. She was born here. She used to live here before she moved to Russia, and I'm asking her to go back here because her mother and her sister and all other relatives of hers, they're still here. So I'm asking her just for the safety reasons. I'm asking her to come back here, but she doesn't want to because she has my dad there. He cannot leave the country. Um, yeah, so she says that she's gonna stay there for as long as possible. She's gonna be.
What do you think after the war? How will visa relations
Well,
be?
it's hard to tell because first we expected it to be
Yeah.
over in 1 or 2 months. Then we just started to hope that eventually it will be over. But now we have no idea when it's gonna be over, just in general, because it's been so long since it started, and we don't see the end of it because both parties they don't want to talk to each other and they don't want to find compromises, and we have no idea. So after the war, probably nobody will still accept the apologies from Russia. Even if we apologize, nobody will accept it, and nobody will, I guess, be sorry for us because everybody still will consider Russia to be the place which started the war, and nobody will ever, um, I guess, forgive us for everything that our president has done. At least in 100 years,
Yeah.
probably, because it's a lot, and a lot of people died, and it's not
Yeah.
something that can be just forgiven that fast. So I guess we still would not have any brands or abilities to travel or some other things that we used to have before. I think that we still will not have that in country, and it's going to take a lot of time for us to find the compromises with the other countries, to be able to travel again, to be able to work again, to be able to do anything in life in general again. I guess that it's going to take a lot of time, and who knows when it's going to be over again. And yeah, it's just hard to predict anything because first, as I've told you, we were thinking that it's going to be over in a month, and it was like, well, yes, these companies are quitting Russia, but they will be back. Yes, it is happening, but probably everything's going to be all right in a month. But then the month was over, and it was just escalating, and then the half of a year was over, and it was escalating, and now it's almost a year, which is crazy, and everything is still escalating. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how has since we're talking about changes over time, throughout the last year, how have opinions toward you and your Russian identity like changed over time? I know that you were in different places, so it's not totally fair, I guess. But um, yeah, what was like the difference between like initial reaction to Russian identity versus, a few months ago and now?
There is the great possibility of me not to say that I'm Russian. But anyway, in most of the places, I still say that I'm Russian just to see the reaction because I'm still curious. Well, at least I know that nobody's gonna like fight with me. Nobody's gonna kill me just because I'm Russian. At least I hope so. That's why I sometimes say just to see the reaction. And it's
Yeah.
very controversial actually because in most of the places they're good with the fact that I'm Russian just because they have gotten used to the fact that a lot of Russians are everywhere, and yeah, we just have to deal with that. But of course, sometimes people are saying, like, why are not you in your country? Why aren't you protesting? Why aren't you trying to get rid of your president? Like, me? I mean, I'm just a girl. What do you want from me? I just want to live my life. And there are some people like that.
What kind of people say that stuff to you? Are they friends or just people you meet?
Just people I meet, like in the restaurants, or it can be even the
Oh,
waiter, like somewhere in the restaurant, who just decides to tell that to me. I'm like, I'm super polite all the time, and I never say anything. So I don't show myself as like a terrible Russian, you know. And I'm always extremely polite with everybody. But when he asks me like, "Where are you from?" Because I have good English, he asks me like, "Where are you from?" And I'm saying like, "I'm from Russia." And he says like, "Oh my god, why are you here?" That was the real life experience with the waiter who told me to go back to Russia because I'm Russian and I'm supposed to be there and to fight with my president. Like, I just wanted my sushi. Thank you. Yeah,
can I ask where that was?
I'm sorry, but no, I'm just scared that a
Yeah,
lot of people are
of course.
going to, yeah,
Of
be
course.
aggressive because of that
No, I
towards the
totally
country.
respect
So
that. It's no problem at all. And what about with the Russian language? You were saying that like when you speak Russian, uh, people had mixed reactions. And did you stop speaking Russian to some people and speaking more English or?
well, I speak Russian, I guess, only in Kazakhstan, because here nobody speaks good English and everybody knows Russian here. So I'm okay with Russian here, and
Okay.
everybody's used to Russian language because my whole family used to live here, and Russian is the official international language in here. So it's okay to speak Russian here. But in the other countries where I go, I don't speak Russian at all. Never. Probably in Montenegro, I spoke Russian because nobody was able to speak English to me. And the part of
And maybe in Albania.
in Albania, they don't speak Russian. Only like a couple of people
Okay.
were able to, but probably they had Russian roots. That's why they spoke Russian to me. And they told me that they're from Montenegro originally, so it was like that. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, and in Montenegro, they speak more of Russian because they have the huge Russian population, the mixed families, and for Russian, it has always been easy to travel to Montenegro in general. So people speak Russian there, and they're good with it. They're not aggressive. They're just living their peaceful life. Have you been to Montenegro?
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Yes, it is, and it's so calm. It's so relaxed. So I just know that people in there, like, they're just chilling. They don't really care about you or about your nationality. They just allow you to enjoy everything that they have in there. So they're nice, and I've never had any problems with them in there. Before and after the beginning of the war, I was good there.
Yeah, I think that can be said about I don't know, it's hard to generalize, but like my experience in ex-Yugoslavia is they went through this horrible war of grouping putting like their neighbors and their family into groups, and then they got split up into countries. I think that they had a dictatorship where they weren't allowed to express their faith and express um their differences. And at least like in Bosnia, I really felt that there were like mosques next to churches. There was just so much mingling and everyone was nice to each other. And I don't know how one can feel that necessarily.
It's incredibly diverse. I was lucky to be there because it is just the mixture of the cultures and religions and everything in there, and everybody is able to live there peacefully, and that is so great. And for me, it was hard to understand that they went through these hard times, because when you walk in the city, you can see these like small marks, blood marks. Have you seen them in? So
I saw them, yeah.
yeah,
There's still bomb marks, right?
yes.
And they fill them with red paint.
Yes, and I saw that. And first, I didn't realize that, because the city seemed so peaceful to me. And then I Googled it, and I found out that it was actually the places where the bombs were. And oh my
Mhm.
God, that is so hard to understand that and to see that, because now everything is so great there. The people are so nice. The atmosphere is incredible, and you can feel that when you come there and you communicate with the people. You can feel that. And I was surprised to see a lot of Americans there, by the way, because I actually have never thought that anybody in the world knows about this place. And I saw a lot of Americans and a lot of people from Canada and a lot of people from Great Britain and from all over Europe. I saw them in there in Sarajevo, which was so interesting.
Yeah, I have no idea why that was. I met one American there who had Bosnian family and he was moving back.
That's interesting. Well, no, I saw a lot of Americans there, and I talked to them. It was, well, I guess it was a couple of weeks before I met you, actually. And yeah, I was there, and I was talking to Americans, and they were saying that this is such a beautiful place. Like, my friend recommended it to me, and I've never expected it to be so beautiful. So I wish I could spend more time in here. So everybody likes Bosnia, everybody likes
Yeah.
Sarajevo, especially. And I've been to lots of beautiful places in there as well. I went to the other cities in there, which is incredibly different from Sarajevo, but also very beautiful. And I recommend everybody to go to Bosnia and to just see everything in there. The country is so small, but so diverse and so beautiful. So I recommend it to everybody.
Nice.
Which I can also say about Russia, though. I recommend people to travel to Russia, but when it's peaceful.
Hmm.
I probably have told you that I traveled all over Russia before, and I traveled. Maybe you know where Vladivostok is.
Where is?
Uh, Vladivostok, it's like far away from Moscow, 9 kilometers away from Moscow. Well, you know, Russia's huge, so I traveled
I
all
heard
over
about that.
Russia. Yeah, and this is an incredibly beautiful place, and the country is nice. The people are perfect. Like, you can always find the common language with everybody in Russia, and they're
I
always
love
help.
Russians that I met.
That's nice to hear. Well, yes, everybody, like the peaceful people in Russia, they're extremely nice and they're always helpful. They show you everything. They're ready to do and to go everywhere with you, basically. They're ready to show you the small city, especially when you that you're from Moscow and I'm from Moscow. And it's like the capital of Russia. It's a huge city. Everybody wants to work there because the salaries are high. And when you tell the people from the smaller cities that you're from Moscow, they just forget about all the business that they have ever had, and they show everything to you in their small city, where you just enjoy and to take the most out of your experience in that city, which
I
is
think
so
that is.
nice. And yeah, and it was nice. I traveled from Vladivostok to Moscow, 9 kilometers. It was nice. I traveled for 1 month all over my country, and the country is incredibly beautiful. So if one day we have peaceful times, I recommend everybody to travel there to just see how beautiful and diverse it is.
Yeah, I would love to.
Don't go to Moscow. It's not beautiful at all. There's nothing to do there. But the other places like St. Petersburg and Vladivostok and just the center of Russia, like that forests and mountains and the Caucasian part also, it's incredibly beautiful. So I recommend everybody.
Do you have any ideas about why Russians love people from Moscow?
Well, they don't love people from Moscow, but they look at us as like people who have the other, like the different quality of life, probably, because we just have the highest salaries, we have the higher quality of everything. The apartments are better, because the salaries are really different. I don't know, like 10 times higher than in regions. So everybody just considers us to be like super rich people, which is not always true for sure, because even Moscow people, they're different. I'm from Moscow and I'm not rich, I'm not successful, I don't have that huge I don't know, apartment in the huge building, like in a skyscraper. A lot of people do because it's Moscow, but I don't, and I'm okay with that. And a lot of people still have that stereotype about people from Moscow that, yeah, if you're from Moscow, it means that you're that successful, rich, and all of that, and they want to show you that the world can be different and that maybe one day they want to have the same quality of life as I have, as they think I have. And yes, something like that. I just think that they are proud of the place where they live, but they also are trying to reach the quality of life that I have, as they think I have. And yes, I guess that is why they're so helpful, respectful, but also they're just very nice people, and that's it. Yeah, and they know that Moscow people don't actually get to see a lot of places like their cities, so they just want to show everything to us, which is nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, well, I actually just remembered something that came up earlier that I didn't mention.
sure.
In Turkey, everyone thought I was Russian, and people said that you didn't look Russian. So I have had the experience of looking Russian in Turkey because everyone is going to Istanbul right now from Russia if they
Yeah.
can, because it's one of the places they can go. And and it's because of my blonde hair. And everyone treated me very nicely, even when they spoke to me in Russian or they assumed I was Russian.
That is so
Just
nice.
as like,
I remember that I tried to teach you some Russian though, when we were going to.
I do remember that. I don't remember it. I don't remember the words.
Well, I would say something like "Hello, how are you?" and probably that was it. Yes, but
It was really, it went right over my head. I said it over and over again and then gone.
I think that it wasn't useful because in Albania nobody speaks Russian anyway. I thought that they would though, because I've never been to Albania before that, and I thought that maybe they're just the same as Serbians and I don't know, Macedonians and like Montenegro people. So I thought that they probably would speak a bit of Russian and they have the similar language, but no, their language is different. It is something.
Albania is totally unique.
Yes, that was so crazy for me to figure it out because I thought that it's just like it's so close to the countries that are similar to Russia and they have like the similar language to Russian. Like Serbian is very close to Russian. So I thought that like if Albania is close to them, maybe they have the same things. And no, they're completely different and the mentality is completely different and the language is completely different, everything. So that was very interesting for me to figure it out. Yeah.
Do you have any more thoughts about just your identity in general, that you haven't had the opportunity to mention?
Well, I have a lot of things to say about my identity in general because I had a lot of problems with my self-esteem and with understanding who was I in the past because I used to have the problems with understanding that I actually can be appreciated and valued, and everybody would just associate me with the things that I did and with the education or with the job or something else. And I always thought that the job was just my source of, I guess, receiving the money to do the things that I like. And I've never known that I was enough because I always thought that I need to achieve something in my job to be able to communicate with people and actually say that I am the person, I do that, and I am valued because, like in Russia, there is the thing about Russian people that you need to achieve something to be able to talk to people and not be ashamed of yourself. It's that thing, especially about the Moscow people. Like you're supposed to have the higher education, at least one education, or the more the better. You're supposed to have the higher education. You're supposed to have I don't know, 10 different jobs in which you're supposed to be successful extremely. You're supposed to know 10 different foreign languages, and in that case somebody will appreciate you. And also you have to have like different hobbies and you need to travel a lot and you're not supposed to have any free time at all, and in that case you're supposed to be the valued person in the society. It's always about the Moscow people. It's our mentality. And growing up in Moscow, I thought that I wasn't enough because I was always trying to find myself. I was always trying to figure out what I want to do. It's like I came to music through all the different attempts to become somebody in different spheres. I tried to dance, I tried to write, I tried to play sports, do sports, or whatever. I was doing a lot of things. And that's how I figured out that the only way for me to find myself is through music, I guess, because I was writing poems first, and then I wanted to show them in a musical way, and I started to play. And I was always living in Moscow. You always feel that you're not enough, and you have got to learn to value yourself, because everybody would tell you the opposite. Everybody would tell you that you're not enough, and that it's there will always be somebody who is better than you, and you're not even supposed to try, because you're not going to reach that level of success as the other people have. And you always live with that, with understanding that you're not anybody, and nobody appreciates you, nobody wants, and nobody welcomes you anywhere. It's just the Moscow mentality. And you live with that, and then you finally realize that because of that, you get into the abusive relationships, and you're just trying to please people, and you're just trying to be enough, and to try to be somebody to somebody else, because you just want to feel that you're useful. And you always live with that understanding that you just want to help and you want to please people, just because it's your mentality now. And it took me a lot of time, I guess, to uh, find find myself, and to understand that I actually can appreciate myself, not because I have achieved something, but just because I am myself, and I can do a lot of things, and I am enough for myself and for the people who truly appreciate me.
Mm.
And I do not need to somehow try to prove that I'm worth something and that I'm enough. And I was always trying to, but only like a couple of years ago, when I started to travel, by the way, and I saw different types of mentalities, and I saw different people everywhere, and I talked to different people and saw different perspectives, I realized that I actually can be enough, and just for myself, and I don't need to prove anything to anybody, and I don't need to please people to be interesting. In Moscow, to be interesting and to seem interesting and valuable to the person, you need to prove that you actually are interesting, and for that, you're supposed to have a lot of things that you have achieved. But with the people that I have met traveling, I didn't need to have all of that. I was just myself, and everybody liked that because we had a lot of fun. And that's how I learned to actually have fun without trying to sell myself to people.
Mm.
That's
Yeah, that's so amazing. Um, yeah, I think you know that this is going to be helpful for a lot of people to hear, because I think a lot of people have felt similar ways. And just to know, I think you would know that just hearing someone who's feeling similar to you would have been really helpful, right? At that time.
I hope so.
And um and even if even to the people who are not Russian, because I think that, maybe no one listening is, well, no, maybe two people. This is a lesson that we are all in a certain perspective, and that when you go traveling, like you said, that was such a mind-opening thing. You can really um yeah, see the other ways to be and to think, and find like good feeling in yourself, to see people in the world appreciating you just for who you are when you have nothing. Like, you can't know that you are valuable without your music, without your other talents, until you do not have those things, and you can't wonder if people are just there for those.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always tried, I guess, to sell myself, as I've said, because this is what you do when you're trying to reach something. And especially, I'm from poor family, actually. So I was always trying to achieve the most, and I was always trying to show that I can do and prove to my parents that all their efforts that they have put into me were not in vain. I was always trying to do that, and when it finally stopped, I realized that life is so much easier than I thought it was, and life is so much more interesting, and I'm so much more than I thought, and all of that. And people like me when I'm not trying to you know when I'm not trying to prove anything to them, and I just am myself, which was great. It was just the realization for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
did you sort of find that as soon as you started to enjoy and have fun, you were able to achieve things that you wanted to achieve just with much more ease because you
Yeah,
enjoyed those things.
I
Yeah.
realized I don't need to put so much effort and I don't need to take a lot of things so seriously as I used to before. And when I started to just tell people my story and I don't know, just communicate, everything was so easy and um, so fast, I guess. And I have achieved a lot of things, and I have done a lot of things that I've never would do if I took that too seriously as I used to. So I'm proud of the fact that I finally realized that I can be anything that I want, and I can do anything that I want, which was a very long way for me. It took me a lot of time and efforts, but here I am. I'm happy.
That's amazing. I remember on the bus when we met, you said something about how Russians, and I heard this again after meeting you, that Russians um, are very hard to make close or very hard just to make friendships with. But then once you are friends, you are like super close friends for life, something like this. And you really didn't like.
Still remember that. That's so great. Yes, I'm relating that to you. That's true. With Russian people, it's always different.
And that in Georgia, you felt that that was a better situation, and you appreciated that. Since you've seen the way that it can be, way friendships can be a little bit less serious, like you said, you're taking things a little bit less seriously, but maybe you can, despite not taking things seriously, you can still find serious meaning in life, in friendships. Um, do you have anything you would like to say to people who are in that culture, and also maybe how that affected you?
Well, I guess that's being Russian and growing up with a Russian surrounding. I just feel that we take friendships that seriously because everybody is ready to betray us everywhere, and the only like couple of people that we can trust, we hold on to them forever. That is why we have that kind of understanding and perspective on friendship. We have like only one or two true friends with whom we're supposed to spend the rest of our lives together. And I have this friend, my best friend. He's actually Armenian, and we have been friends for forever. I don't know. I can't even count because it has been forever. And this is the person that I can trust to my life to. Like I can trust with my life, with everything that I do and say and everything that I feel.
Not everyone can say that they have a friend like that, so that's awesome.
That's true. And I have this kind of friend who's like basically like a relative to me. He's not, but he feels like a brother or even closer because not everybody can trust to their brothers like that. And he's the closest person ever. And I understand because growing up in Russia, you go through a lot of layers of betrayals and you go through a lot of tough stuff when you understand that well, not everybody can be trusted to, and you really truly appreciate the people with whom you talk like like you can be yourself with that people, and you really truly appreciate them. And of course, you want to hold on to these people forever. And I guess that we also in Russia really like to share the memories with the people with whom we have the same past. So it's like we just continue our storylines together, which is crazy because the best thing for us with my best friend is to recall the moments from the past and to watch the videos, to see the photos, and to just recall everything that we've been through. And this is such a rotten thing to sit down and just to talk about something that we've been through. So yeah, I have this thing with my best friend and with my fiance now, with whom I also am completely myself, and I've never expected to find anybody like him. And we both appreciate each other, and we're truly ourselves with each other. So I know that we're gonna just continue with our storylines together, and we're gonna be just telling all of the things that we have been through to our kids in the future. And I just know that this is the Russian thing to hold on to the friendships with that you have been having since your childhood. It is something that we really truly appreciate because the rest of the people are ready to betray us and to take advantage, I guess, of everything that we do. So, yes, that's why we appreciate our friends so much.
Yeah. Do you think that issue of trust and betrayal is a a problem specifically in your country, or that you guys are just more um, on guard about it? And what could that look like?
Yes, I've never faced this kind of situations in any other countries before, probably because I haven't lived there enough. Um, that's because I grew up in Russia. I know about this thing about the betrayals, and I've never faced anything like that in different countries. I know that in Turkey, for example, when I was there, the people have different perspective on communication and friendship, but I only know that from my American friend who had spent a lot of time in there, who lived in there for like 6, 7 years, something like that. And he told me that everybody is ready to take the advantage on you, and they're just trying to, you know, make some profit and all of that. So if you have the friends, you should be just ready. But again, I'm not sure that it's true for everybody, because everybody has their own perspectives on it, and everybody probably have their different stories. But this is his experience. He has experienced living in Turkey. He has experienced that if you don't speak Turkish fluently, everybody's gonna try to make money from you, and everybody's gonna try to somehow screw you and betray you and all of that. Yeah, and he speaks about the friends as well. That even if you are super close with the person, you still should be ready. I don't know. I guess that's I've never had this kind of experiences of living in a different country for that long, that I have developed the huge and that strong relationships with anybody. I still have a lot of friends from different countries, but we all trust to each other, and we have very good relationships. So nobody has ever betrayed me, except of the people who just like they have betrayed me. They just decide not to communicate with me because I'm Russian, which is okay. I can understand their position. I don't support it, but I sort of understand why they have decided to do that. So it wasn't
Mm,
betrayal; it was just the misunderstanding, I guess.
yeah, yeah, I guess I would call it misunderstanding as well. Yeah, it's so interesting how everyone has different experiences and with people like in these countries. I remember I also met, I think, an American and an Australian who really felt like everyone was trying to screw them over, and a German in Turkey, but I didn't feel it with anybody. Um,
That's good. That's
and
very true.
yeah, I don't know what happened, but like for instance, a lot of people loved Albania, and I felt like some people were trying to screw me over at times. But for the most part, they were lovely.
I guess I felt that on Turkey, but probably because I'm Russian, and Russians are like in Turkey, they're just the people who come there all the time, and they just know that Russians always have the money, so it's just the tradition of Turkish people to try to make the most out of Russians' visits to their country. So I guess it's a normal thing, and I don't think that they would do something like that to everybody. And a lot of
Yeah,
Turkish people are extremely helpful, so it's just different thing. Everybody's trying to survive in their ways, so I don't judge that. I guess I can understand it in general, so it's okay.
yeah, you just have to be on guard for it.
Yes, true.
Okay. Um, I think that we
Yeah,
what how long has it been?
1.5 hours. Yeah,
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay. Let's wrap it up. I think that
yeah,
at least for the podcast,
yeah.
it's yeah, really been amazing. And we have a lot of good content. And yeah, do you have any final remarks
I
for
just
the viewers, and then we can
say
say goodbye afterwards?
I just wanted to say thank you so much for talking to me, because it was such a pleasure, and I feel myself way better, because I guess that I just needed that. I needed to talk about everything that I have been through, and I needed to tell about my experience, and I finally feel like I have spoken the truth. I have pronounced everything that was just always in my brain. I could only talk about that to the closest people because I was scared. And now I finally just feel like I'm free with all the emotions and feelings that I have had, and all the thoughts that I have had. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to all of the questions, and thanks so much
I'm
for
so glad I could listen and I could help you um be ears and also spread your message. I'm just yeah, I don't know. that you were talking about, like, the COVID issue, like, people get tired of hearing about it, but you say that you still haven't had, um, necessarily the right outlets to express yourself.
That's true.
Um,
Because I
yeah.
live among Russian people, and everybody just takes it as something that we're used to and we get to live in it. So we don't normally discuss it that much. When some other rules or some news come up, of course we discuss it, but without any excitement, without any interest, and without the understanding that we can actually change something. So it's just the Russian people who already know and who have accepted it all. And that's why I had finally the chance to convey everything that I wanted to say to, I guess, to the world in general. This is the message that I wanted to convey about Russians and about our experience and about our opinions. And the main thing is that we're not the same. We're not our president, and we don't support everything that he does, and we just want to live our peaceful lives. And everybody supports that opinion. Among the people that I know, everybody supports that, but not him.
Yeah, that I think you really expressed it well, and I would second that to people in all kinds of uh, dictatorships and authoritative governments in the Middle East and the world that I've heard people saying similar things about their countries, and they're tired of being uh, associated and put in the same box as their governments and being representatives for that. It doesn't really make any sense, and it's a really big problem that people don't understand that. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for giving talk about all of that.
Okay, so this is us signing off. Thank you so much, Sia.
Thank you so much. I wrote you a letter about everything that matters, still waiting for you to respond. I blame it on post, 'cause they might have lost it halfway. Anyway, sometimes I call, 'cause I know that you're home. I hope you have seen it, you probably haven't, 'cause they may have no cell reception in heaven. 'Cause I wrote the things that I should have said. I'm happy you don't get to see how awful the world gets to be. I hope that you feel from above my unconditional love. I wrote you a message in which I had said that my guardian angel now has a best friend. You're still my emergency contact, 'cause I still believe that you'll come back. I blame it on phone, may number be wrong, or may the connection be not enough strong. I hope you have seen it, you probably haven't, 'cause they may have no cell reception in heaven, in heaven. And I'm happy you don't get to see how awful the world gets to be. I hope that you feel from above my unconditional love. I wrote you a message in which I had said that my guardian angel now has a best